Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall.
No, but I'll tell you what, Saturday was one of the longest days I've had in a long time because we had two shows.
Me too.
This show is 3 hours long. Yeah. And it's
God.
And it's not a happy, upbeat show. It's really heavy emotional stuff. So that's hard on your psyche to do twice in a row. But not only did we have two shows, we had to basically strike the set because we're in a church and the church needs a space for Sunday. So we had to like get rid of everything and put it in the church basement. And it was just
yeah, that was us. That was us too. We had a 2-show day followed by strike. And not only did we have to strike the show, put it in the truck, we had to take it to the studio and unload the truck back into the studio. So I know exactly what you're going through now. Emotionally, no. And this was the Wizard of Oz, with dance and cirque. So this was fun.
Okay. Yeah.
And chaotic.
Yeah.
But I've done shows where it's like the exhale at the end is like, oh, I am so glad to be walking away from this. So, wow, I can only imagine what it must be like, though, to emotionally put yourself out there in those characters and have to live those moments over and over again. So, bravo. Are you done? Is the show done?
No, we have a whole nother week. So Wednesday we have to load in again.
So I have to tell you, in our storing up, stories to tell on the podcast.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the story about me tripping and falling? Did I tell you that story?
Yes, because I shared the same story of me tripping and falling on the softball field.
Okay, good. Because I did go to the chiropractor.
Yeah.
And this guy crushed me like a linebacker, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, crack. He yanked on my legs, and he's like, "Wow, your hips are really out of alignment." And I'm going back tomorrow. But I still have a little bit of the pain that I was experiencing in my sciatic in my hip, gone.
Wow.
Gone. Yeah. It made such a difference in my pain. And I'm hoping that in this next adjustment, I still think my hips are a little out of alignment. I have this weird thing that with my, when I wear shoes that aren't sneakers, hard-soled shoes, I can definitely hear one foot falling harder than the other. It's like a flap.
Yeah.
And I think I may have just strained something in my thigh or the muscle that runs down the back of my leg, so that I don't have the strength to lift my foot up as high, to lift my toe. Flex. I don't have the strength to do it, so that when I go to step, I don't have the strength to hold my foot, so it kind of ka-flaps. Now, I'm not I'm not flip-flopping down the sidewalk, I'm not shuffle, flap. I just notice it. And so I think maybe my hips are still just a little bit out of alignment, so maybe he can just do one more.
Yeah. Season 5, Episode 5, Fallen Idols. James Dean, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi. The boys figure the ghosts... I can't see because it's so fucking dark in here. The boys figure the ghosts of long-gone icons are offing the innocent citizens of an Ohio town. A dead-on theory until a demonic creature in the form of Paris Hilton appears, sporting a very old grudge. Written by Julie Siege and directed by James L. Conway.
Spoiler alert. Paris Hilton's in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I had a good time with this episode. And especially given the fact that on the last episode, I was like, please, can we take a break from the apocalypse?
Yeah. And they definitely, for the most part, took a break from the apocalypse in this.
Oh my God. It's like they didn't use the clutch on that one. They just went screech, grind the gears, and here's this episode.
Yeah.
I had a good time with it. I don't want to say it was soothing to watch because it was just back to basics. You know, it was like...
It was very classic Supernatural.
Yes. And I really just kind of was like, this is good. I like this. It had jump scares. It had a
blood splatters.
It had the splatters. It had some comedy. It had some brotherly comedy, you know. And I mean, it was still peppered with, you know, brotherly strife, but not so much that you just wanted to be like, I need a break, because I definitely needed a break. So this was a good foray into taking a break from the apocalypse. Although they did mention it.
Yes,
you know,
there was a little bit of
a
a minor underlying theme, I guess, of it, a recurring conversation.
Yes, but this time around, I will say that there was resolution with their conversations. There was point A at the beginning of the episode. They hit it again in the middle of the episode, and at the end of the episode, resolution from what happened at point A in the beginning. Yes,
and I will say in the middle, the point B part, I was so fucking pissed.
I was like, Sammy's gonna hate this. I even was like, that was dick. That was pure dickish.
Dick.
Yeah, and but I literally wrote down, ooh, Sammy's gonna hate this.
I did hate it. So
this episode was had some nice like pop culture stuff. Obviously. If it's you know, icons from the past are, you know, showing up and killing people. So that was kind of fun. There's other pop culture other than the actual icons, the ghosts that are mentioned, and I'll use ghost in air quotes. This episode did not have Castiel.
No.
And I think that's the first time that we haven't had Castiel since his introduction as a major character.
Yes. Yeah, definitely in the season is the first episode he did not show up.
So
in the previous season there was many that he did not show up.
Yes.
And I don't know where in the timeline of his contract he became main character versus whatever.
Recurring, yeah. I don't know either, but he was demonstrably not there.
Yes.
And nor was he even like called out. It wasn't like, where's Cass? Oh, he's not here. It was like he wasn't even mentioned.
No.
So.
Yeah. All right. So a quick little the recap. Sam killing Lilith, blaming Sam for killing Lilith and starting the apocalypse, and doubting Sam for the aftermath of it. Yeah, can't trust you. Separating, the vessel reveals, and then coming back together, which is where we left off in the final scene of the previous episode, is them starting anew as a team again.
Woohoo! So the now is, I described them as two yuppies. I know that's like a throwback, but you know, just these two guys in a garage, two friends, two bros in a garage, and one of them has discovered or found Little Bastard, which was James Deans's 1955 Spider Porche. And it was the car that he ultimately...
Interesting, you say Porche.
That is the
It's
proper pronunciation of the car name is Porsche. Though throughout the entire episode, however, they do say Porsche.
That's how I have always said it, is Porsche.
I have always said it as Porsche. I looked it up. It is Porsche. It is pronounced Porsche. But yeah, so it's James Dean's 1955 Porsche Spider that he ultimately died in. And so these guys have been searching their entire lives for this car, and they have now found it. And it's this big reveal. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you found the car!"
See, it was I guess it was a big reveal if you knew what the car was, but when they revealed it in my first watch through, I was just like, oh, it's a fancy car. Obviously, it's some kind of fancy car that has a meaning to it, but I had zero idea until several scenes later when Dean is explaining it to Sam, and he's also explaining it to me.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I wasn't familiar. I mean, I knew the car, but the reveal, I wasn't like, oh, that's the car. But the fact that it had the 130 on it and Little Bastard, I was like, okay, I know which car this is.
I didn't know any of that.
It could have been any car, but the fact that they were so excited about it.
I knew it was something special just because of the way they're like, oh, you found it. It was like, okay, this is similar to like a DeLorean from Back to the Future. It's something that has like a significant meaning. I get it. So yeah, they're fawning over this special sports car, and they're gonna start it up, but they want to commemorate the moment, so one of them leaves to go get a video camera. And while the other one is sitting in the car, all the ghost signals start to pop up.
You can see his breath. The radio starts going on, and it's staticky. I'm like, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Can't turn it off. Not a good thing. But back in the house, the guy who went in to get the video camera hears like the engine turn on, tires squealing, and then like a crash sound. And he's like, huh? You know, Cal, is that you? So he goes out to be like, okay, I thought I heard something, but here we go. I've got the camera. And as he like comes around the corner to be like, smile for the camera, he sees that his buddy who was sitting in the car has now been like embedded in the windscreen.
The windshield has sliced through his face.
I mean, and like part of his face is like overlap. It's like lapped over the screen. I was like, that's it's like one of the most horrific supernatural things they've done. I mean, they've done splatters and killings and head loppings off, but this guy's face half like peeled onto the windshield. I was like, that's bad.
That's pretty good. It felt very much like a scene that could have been in those Final Destination movies.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like the crash itself was horrific enough, but then the aftermath was like, oh, okay.
Right.
But yeah, so his buddy sees his friend impaled on the car, and blood is just like oozing down the hood of the car.
It's a blood ooze rather than a blood splatter, but still very supernatural. It's like, okay, here we go.
Blood just pouring down, and then title splash. I do want to point out, I was watching this on Netflix with the subtitles on.
I know what you're going to say.
The subtitles did not match what was being said.
Several moments in this episode, the subtitles did not match. So it must have been the subtitles must have gotten a table draft or something, or shooting draft. But then once maybe it was an ADR, they changed the line, or because I do feel like later when Dean is on the phone during the scene that made me angry, it felt like an ADR moment. Recording over rather than
it was like they changed it for some reason. I mean, and it actually makes sense that it's weird because it was like two different things. One was they said something that wasn't written, and then in the same instance, what was written wasn't said. It was like two different types of I almost said incontinence. That's right. Continuity issues. He shit his pants, and yeah. So
yes, I noticed that also.
So, and it threw me for a second. I was like, wait, what? Wait, but I just figured it was a post-production
right
snafu. But yeah, so hey, smile for the camera, buddy. Everything okay? He's not okay. His face is on the windshield. Title splash.
Yes. All right. So now Dean and Sam are back together in the car. It's been 3 weeks of them looking for the cult together. And Sam is anxious to stay on that path of looking for the cult in order to ice the devil. But Dean wants to take a side quest case to ease back into it, right? He wants to put the training wheels back on
their relationship.
Yes, Sam is like, I need training wheels. He's like, no, we need
do.
The training
we got to
wheels.
Figure out how to work together again. Yeah.
Yes. Sam accepts that. I think it was like, okay, yeah, I got it. You're right.
Yeah. So a little map quest. They're on their way to Canton, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the Dean said in the moment, he was like the I'm pretty sure the apocalypse is going to be there when we get back.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay that we do this side gig, and like what is it about this job? He's like, a guy dies, in a parked car as if he'd crashed it at 80 miles an hour. So I think this is up our alley, and the apocalypse will be there when we get back. So.
Right.
Yeah, so Canton, Ohio, obviously Canton, Ohio does exist. So no major, researching to do there. Yeah. They are aliases. They are back as FBI agents to go investigate this death, and they are agents Bonham and Copeland. John Bonham was the lead drummer for Led Zeppelin, and Stuart Copeland was the lead drummer for the Police. For the Police. And I was like, thank you for throwing in like a non like muscle band, a non classic rock band. The Police was more, age appropriate.
That's funny. Yeah, I watched a little bit of the next episode, and there's a cute alias joke that they have there as well that I actually knew without looking up. So yay. So this sheriff, how to describe this sheriff who keeps recurring in this episode? Sometimes I would call him just the facts guy, or
it's like
reasonable explanation.
Yeah, if you hear hoof beats, think horse, not zebra. It's like it is what it
zebras.
Is.
It's an SVU episode. Zebras.
Yes. Zebras. Did you recognize the actor?
I didn't.
By any chance?
I was like, he looks a little familiar. I did.
He was in Phantom Traveler. He was in season 1. He was, I think, one of the pilots. No, Supernatural.
Oh.
Yeah. Phantom Traveler. So when the
plane,
the black smoke, yeah. Okay. I think he was one of the pilots who gets taken over.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
But he looks familiar. Why?
Yeah, he did look familiar, and it was not one of the things I looked up.
So he's sheriff. Yeah, go ahead.
He's convinced that the Cal is the guy who died. His friend, I think his name is Jim, was the murderer since he taped it. So obviously the sicko is the one who did it. Done. Yeah. Wipe my hands of this. We're good to go.
Yep. Simple. Kept calling it Simple, and I was like, now is that a shout out to Paris Hilton? Kept calling it Simple, but I don't know. Maybe I think it was a reach, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna write that down. So they go and interview. They're like, well, can we go interview the friend anyway? Jim. Oh, and did you know Cal, the guy who died in the car, Cal was the name of James Dean's character in the movie East of Eden, which was a movie he was filming when he died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like his first and only film other than like Rebel Without a Cause. It was
Yeah.
like his first like real.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yes, Cal was the name of his character.
That's funny.
Nice little shout out, Supernatural.
Yeah.
Good job. So his friend is like, he's like, I didn't do it. The car did it. The car did it. And of course, Dean is like, ooh. They both
it wasn't until he mentioned little, like, both of them were like, the car, seriously, question mark? And then he said, yeah, little bastard. And then Dean is like
the little bastard?
The little bastard. He's the most excited.
Yes. And he gives this brief little, mostly accurate history of this car. Now, I looked up the history of the car.
I did too.
Okay, so you know
you can go. Yeah.
Yeah, so James Dean bought this car because he had ordered a Lotus for this race coming up in Salinas, California. And Lotus didn't get him the car in time. So he got really impatient. So he ordered the Porsche and was thrilled with the Porsche. It was this cute little roadster. And one night he was at a restaurant in Hollywood with his car, and Alec Guinness, the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, was there. And so he's like, let me show you my car. And Alec was like, well, how fast does this car go? And James Dean said, I can get it up to 150. And Alec Guinness said, don't get into this car. If you drive this car, you are going to be dead within a week. Yep. So little Obi-Wan Kenobi there, and he did actually die within a week of that prognostication.
Holy shit, I didn't. That is not in the research that I found, because when I Googled it, you know, a bunch of things come up, obviously, when you're just like, the curse of little bastard. But the one I clicked on was strictly because of the website name, which is Motorious, as in notorious, but with an M as in Mary, like a motor. And I was like, that is fucking clever.
Wow.
And it's a very brief kind of, it's a very brief, these are all the people that died from this car, but.
Yeah, so essentially, so driving to the race that they were going to go to, James Dean had him and his mechanic in the car with him. His stunt driver was driving the like empty trailer behind them. A car pulled out in front of them, and basically they almost hit head on. And it was James Dean who, like, his side of the car took the brunt of the hit at between 80 and 90 miles an hour on this road. The stunt driver was thrown from the car and was killed. The mechanic was thrown from the car and killed. The stunt driver was behind them. And James Dean was pronounced dead at a hospital, although I can't imagine that he was alive on scene.
Right.
So later, the car was essentially junked, but later on down the road, this Dr. William Eschrich, bought the car out of the junkyard and put the Porsche engine in his car, and then went to a race. And the engine blew up, and he skidded out, and he hit a tree, and he died.
Yes. And then the suspension parts were sold to another racer.
In the same race.
Yes. Yes. And he hit according to Motorious, it hit the only tree on the racetrack in the first lap.
Yep. And died.
Yeah.
So the car was, they decided to put the rest of the car. I have pictures. I was going to show you pictures. Did you see the crash pictures?
I have some pictures. Yeah. I see some
then.
of the crash.
They decided to use Little Bastard in a public safety thing for like speed kills. You know, so don't drive fast because this is what'll happen to you. But while the car was in storage before it went to go on display, it caught fire. And no one was hurt. They were able to put the fire out. But then when they actually brought it to put it on display, it fell off the display stand and fell on a passerby and broke their hip.
Yeah.
And then they decided to transport it, I guess, back to the exhibit hall or something. and it fell off the transport truck, and killed the truck driver that had just finished transporting it to this place, to the display place.
See, this one says, while being transported from Miami to Los Angeles, the car mysteriously disappeared.
There was 2 other incidents before that happened.
Okay.
There was the truck driver who got killed.
The way that this website described it is like it's the parts of the car. It's not like the car was never really wholly in one piece after James Dean. Like, it's just all the parts of the car. So it's like the suspension goes into this one car, kills this guy. It's a tire from, in another instance, kills somebody else. It's like, I don't know the story of Christine, but
I do.
It sounds kind of like the episode of Futurama where there's like this it's a werewolf version of a car. But anyway.
Anyway, so in real life, terrible things happened to anybody who was associated with any part of this car.
Yes.
And the fact that they finally put, and it was the body of the car that they put on the train to go from Miami to LA, or LA to Miami, whichever way, that when it got to the final location and they opened up the sealed train car, the whatever was left of the car was gone.
Yeah.
And it has not been found since.
Yeah.
So, the transaxle, however, the one remaining piece that is known, is on display in the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. So nice. So that's the history of this car. And yes, Sam and Dean are like, is this like Christine? Or Sam's like, is this like Christine, the Stephen King car? And this car that car is possessed, and it's like a homicidal car, but it becomes like, becomes protective of this one driver, of the one owner of the car, but kills anybody around this guy. Kills the girl because it's jealous of the girl. It kills the buddy because it's, the buddy thinks that he's going to make him get rid of the car.
Got it.
And it's this weird, like, sick relationship between the car and
I've
this
seen
guy.
many parodies of that then. That's a very familiar sounding story, even though I've never read the book or seen.
Yeah. So
is there a movie? I don't know. But
yes, there is.
Okay.
Of course there is. Stephen King. Of course there is.
Dean is super excited about this. And he knows that the only way they can find out if this actually is Little Bastard is not by the VIN number, but by the engine number, which of course is on the engine.
Underneath.
So there's a very stressful scene of Dean going underneath the car, and you can tell he's just praying to the car gods, to the ghost of this car, whatever you want to call it.
Calls it baby. He's like, don't get angry at me, baby. I'm just here to take your number. And it's like up on these like jacks or blocks that are creaking, and it's like, Jesus.
For some reason, it's just like shaking like crazy, and I was like, is Sam up there just like fucking with him?
I think he must have been, because the next thing Sam does is like hunker down. He's like, need a flashlight? Which of course scares the crap out of Dean. I also love that now they're in like their shirt sleeves and their ties. They're not in their jackets anymore. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you guys look like bankers, or bankers on lunch or something.
Right.
But yeah, so Dean's able to get a rubbing of the engine number and slides out before the car like crushes him. It doesn't fall down, but he obviously we think it's going to fall on him, but it doesn't. Right. And so he gives the engine number to Sam.
Yes,
he's like,
he rewards Sam with research. Like, here you go. Have a great time.
Lucky you. And I'm sure he needs to go and like change his shorts, essentially. So Sam has to go off and research all owners of the car all the way back to 1955. And in the meantime, Dean heads off to a bar.
Yes, and hits on the cute bartender. And I think pretends to be an agent or something like that.
Yes, an actor. Yes, exactly. Yeah. He went to the Green Dragon Tavern, which is it's two things, but I think the thing that they were referencing was Lord of the Rings. Green Tavern, or Green Tavern Inn, was a tavern in the Shire. Otherwise, it's a real place in Boston, I think, where like Paul Revere would meet with the writers and stuff. So, but I'm gonna say it's a Lord of the Rings shout out.
Okay.
Okay. Lord of the Rings. Okay. So yes. So Dean is having a beer, trying to, get his heart rate back down, and Sam
Yeah, and
calls.
Sam is like, that. What, you didn't need to do that because this is
It's
owned by
not.
like a doctor or something for
Yes.
the whole time. So this is not
This
Dean's car.
Yep.
So what was it then? Question
killed
mark?
her? Yeah, cut to like a professorial looking guy, in his study, obviously, at night burning the midnight oil. And the housekeeper's just left, and now that he's alone, he suddenly sees his breath. Not good.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks up to see like a growling, snarling President Abraham Lincoln, like, arr!
Yes, I do love the lead up to this because it was so classic cheesy horror movie.
It's you.
It's you. You're supposed to be dead.
Dead.
What's going on? And cut to Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's a slow. I don't even want to call it a chase scene. It's like a.
No, literally is him like. No.
Yes, it's still more classic horror movie, like backing up. Don't, stop, please.
Yeah.
But of course, Abraham Lincoln catches up to him. Camera cuts away.
Supernatural. Whoosh.
Yeah, you hear a gunshot and see a supernatural blood splatter on top of a framed proclamation made by
The
Abraham Lincoln.
Emancipate.
That's the word I could not fucking.
Yeah.
I saw proclamation. I'm like, I know that there's a famous thing, and what is the name of it? What is the name of it? And I was totally having a brain dead moment.
Beautiful blood splatter across the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the first time I watched it, I didn't hear the gunshot, and because it looked like Lincoln was actually choking him.
Yeah, you thought that his head exploded from like being choked. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't until I went back and like the subtitles were like gunshot. I was like, oh, all right, that makes sense. So next thing we know, the sheriff and the boys are on the scene of this homicide. And Dean and Sam point out the obvious, which is this man has a gunshot wound to the head, but there's no gun and no gunshot powder and no
bullet.
No bullet. So explain that, Sheriff. If you hear hoof beats, assume a horse.
Yeah.
His answer is, I thought he was going to say ninjas.
That's basically what he said.
Yeah, but he's like, it's assassins.
Yeah.
Assassins.
Trained assassins.
And he quotes this movie, what is it? Michael Clayton, which I haven't seen this movie. I had to look it up. It's a George Clooney movie. Oh. So I was like, all right. But at that point, Sam and Dean are like, yeah, no, this guy had no credibility.
Yeah. So do they go to the housekeeper, who in Spanish, and through a little bit of translation work from Sam's freshman year of college Spanish, find out that it was a very tall man with a long black coat and a beard and a super tall sombrero. Sí, el Presidente Lincoln killed Mr. Clinton. Love it.
Oh, I was going to ask you how your Spanish was. Like, did you understand her?
Through the subtitles, yes, I could, because it's very basic Spanish, honestly. When she's talking outside, she's like, I go home now. I go home to my house. I go home to my house in Salvador. Please, El Salvador.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
All of Sam's, translation is correct.
I like that Dean is like, his only Spanish was sombrero and gracias.
Gracias.
So he was like there for the sombrero. And then at the end, he's like, gracias. And Sam's just like, dude, you don't get to gracias her. It was all me.
Yeah.
Poor woman.
Yeah.
So back at the motel, the Night Owl Motel. I love that Sam and Dean are back in their Sam and Dean clothes, and I was like, again, this like visceral, like, they're
Yeah.
back, they're back, and that made me feel good. They're both. Oops, sorry, just did a Zoom thing. They're both researching. They're both on their computers, I should say. Sam's researching the professor, the guy who just got killed, and Dean is rewatching the video footage of the little bastard stuff. I would like to point out that in this hotel, the sunburst clock has made a reappearance.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that as well.
I think it's ridiculous how happy that makes me when I notice those things. I'm like, there it is. It's there. Dean notices something in the reflection of a hubcap in the movie, and he's like, son of a bitch, who does this look like to you? And shows it to Sam. He's like, does that look like James Dean? And I didn't see it. I just saw like a red shirt, and I was like, all right. Yeah,
a red shirt and a little bit of a swoopy hair do.
Yeah, and Sam's like, yeah, that looks like James Dean. And they're like, huh. All right, so Abraham Lincoln offs, this guy, and James Dean kills this guy. So what do we have, like famous ghosts? It's not just one ghost. We have two famous ghosts killing two fans.
In Canton, Ohio?
It's like, what's going
WTF
on?
are they here for?
Yeah.
Cut to a wax museum. That's why they're here. That's where
Turns
all these
out
famous
there's
people
a
are.
wax museum. Oh my
So,
God.
fun little bit about this wax museum. I think the location was actually a library, but there was an actual wax museum nearby in, I think, Victoria, where they just had extra figures to use. So they wrote the story based on the we don't see a James Dean statue, so I think that was kind of a pre-planned thing, but they did have the Abraham Lincoln one, they did have a Gandhi one, so they wrote the other ghosts or
oh my gosh, that's
scary things
I was gonna say
based on that.
When they go to the wax museum and they're showing you the other figures, I was like, those are really good.
They're really good. There's an Abe Lincoln, there's a Nixon, right? I think there's there's
Nixon, there's a Kennedy, there's an FDR, there's a Michael Jackson in one of the pass by scenes, but he has his hand in front of his face and his
I think that was but there's a few of them that have a hand in front of their face where it's okay, they had the costumes, but they didn't.
But the Abe Lincoln was amazing. The Gandhi was great.
Yes.
And even the Nixon looked really good. I was very impressed, but I was like, that's a lot of work.
No, so those were definitely borrowed wax figures from a nearby wax museum that said, "Oh yeah, we have these just like hanging around." Yes,
how convenient. So Sam and Dean go to this museum, and their alias is that they're writers for a travel magazine. Their article is about how non-sucky wax museums are. And I love that the guy who runs the museum is like, oof,
he's into that because it's like, it's so busy here, and I'm totally ready to make wax museums cool again. He's really into the wax museum culture.
He wants to reach out to Gen Y and make sure that that they know that it's hip to be in a wax museum. I love that he's wearing Fonzie's jacket.
Yes,
which is actually in the Smithsonian in DC, as is Indiana Jones's leather jacket is in the Smithsonian.
Well, he does say seasons. He says seasons 2 through 4 or something like that.
Yes,
so
Fonzie
there must have been many
different jackets.
Leather jackets.
He had the black leather jacket and a brown leather jacket. I just think that's hysterical that he decided to wear, a piece of Americana around. And also he was so excited, and I love that Sam and Dean didn't bash him for it. They weren't like, yay, they were like, okay, you can
great,
be excited
you do
about,
you.
Yeah, you can be excited about your wax museum. That's awesome.
Yes. But this guy does say, like, oh yeah, Abraham Lincoln, James Dean are some of our more popular displays. We get regulars to come and see them.
Yep.
Like
And
those
it
two dead
turns out
guys. Yeah,
like Cal
sorry.
and the professor.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yep. I love that Dean's like, so, ever these guys look really good, it's really lifelike. Ever see them just move around?
Yeah.
Museum guy's like, no, no,
Yeah,
don't think
not so
so.
subtle with the questions. But
Oh
he
my
does
god.
also say this wax museum is super special because we have real personal items from these people,
Right.
like Abe Lincoln's real top hat
Stovepipe hat. Yep. Yep.
and
James
James
Dean's
Dean's
keychain.
keychain and Gandhi's
Gandhi's glasses.
glasses.
FDR's iron lung. Oh god. Fonzie's jacket. Yeah. Um that's really cool. And that would definitely be a draw. Not the figures
Yeah,
themselves, but the items and
yeah,
stuff. Um so armed with that information, Sam and Dean go back to the motel and are like
prepping.
prepping to do like a salt and burn. They're getting the shotgun together with the rock salt, or at least Sam is doing that. Dean is on the phone in the room talking to
Yep.
Bobby, and here's the scene that neither of us liked. He starts trash talking Sam
Yeah.
and essentially being, a dick on the phone and be like, well, what do you expect? He started the apocalypse. This
Yeah.
is just, all this shit is now because of Sam starting the apocalypse. And unfortunately, Sam walks in and hears this, and when he confronts Dean about it, Dean's like, what the fuck? And he's like, I don't care. You heard it. You heard what, I said what I
Yes.
said. I heard it. And it's, get used to it. This is what our truth is going to be.
Yeah.
Essentially. And Sam's like, where's the, working together again? Where's the, starting fresh?
Yeah.
And Dean's just a dick. He's like, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I say jump, you say how high, essentially. Little fun note, the room number that they're in at this motel, room 137, it's like twice, if not three times, the camera was like, sign on the door, 137. I was like, all right, what's room 137?
Yeah.
It's the in the asylum episode.
I was just gonna say, it's like, is that the asylum room number?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it's the room where the kids were locked in, where one of the ghosts that everyone thought was like a bad ghost turned out was a good ghost trying to tell them,
yes.
trying to help them. So anyway, that was 137. So yeah, I said Dean's kind of callous and shitty to Sam.
Yes, and Sam just, in this scene, he sits there and takes it. He's like,
it. Yep. Okay.
All right, fine.
So
if this is what I gotta do to earn you get back in your good graces, I guess. But they go, besides that, they go to the museum. They grab Abe's hat, and while Dean is going off to grab the James Dean keychain, Sam is like intensely studying the Abraham Lincoln figure.
Why would you do that?
I think this was setting up the jump scare that comes with the door closing behind, which wasn't really a jump scare for me personally, but I think we were meant to believe, oh, this guy is going to jump out and turn to light and come to life.
Yes, exactly. Even though that's not how this has been working.
Yeah.
That's what I had to go back and be like, Valerie, wax figures are not coming to life.
But we don't know that at the time.
No, but that's what, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, why would you put your face that close? I mean, he's like nose to nose with this wax figure, which, again, looked amazing. Far better than the ghost. That was supposed to be Abe Lincoln.
It did. And I think maybe this was to imply that Sam had another theory of what was going on, which he then expresses a little bit later on. Maybe he's starting to, is this really what is happening here? and just like looking for other clues, but mostly I believe it was to...
He was just interested in how good the wax figure looked.
Maybe, but mostly I think it was to distract us so we could not be jump scared by the wax figure coming to life, but by the door slamming shut behind him. But I still was not really jump scared by it.
No, because it was like we knew something was going to happen, and it did. Something happened.
Yeah.
And it's like the doors slam shut now, and Sam is now trapped inside this room, but we don't see the cold breath. And he's looking around the room, and suddenly he's like bum rushed by Gandhi.
Yeah, first his salt gun flies out of his hands.
Right.
And then, yes, Gandhi like ambushes him from behind. And he just, he's, as Dean said, squirreling around for a while before Dean comes into the room. And Dean just kind of stands there for a while.
I know. There's like no sense of emergency there.
On? Wow, this guy's like wacky.
Yeah, and he's wearing a diaper. What's going on?
Well, he's sitting there being choking out his brother, and Sam is like, "Get the."
Oh,
and he's,
yeah.
What is it? What is it that I'm supposed to get?
Oh yeah.
It just like seems like forever.
Yeah, he just was not in hunter mode. He was just, not with it.
No, and even after he grabs Gandhi's glasses and throws them into the salty fire, and then Gandhi disappears, unusually, might I add.
Yes.
He's still just like, Gandhi? Really? You admire Gandhi? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So he tries to mock Sam for being, a fan
for
of
admiring
a pacifist.
A great man.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Oh God. And not at all like concerned for Sam.
Yeah.
At all. Just wants to mock him. So I have to say the attacking of like 9 foot tall Sam by like Gandhi, who's not 9 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he was literally just like a squirrel, like all over him, like
climbing the tree.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it wasn't quite as scary. It wasn't a scary attack.
No,
it was just like,
that's probably why Dean was just like, ha ha ha.
Yes, exactly. Which is why I was like, that was kind of a comical scene. It wasn't meant to be, but it kind of was. It wasn't as scary as it could have been because it was this little tiny man attacking big tall tree. So back at the motel, they're packing. And I thought it was interesting that I'm like, do we ever see them pack? I mean, like literally they're taking stuff out of drawers and putting stuff into their bags. Oh. And I was like, I don't ever remember Sam. We've seen them putting stuff into their duffel.
Yes.
Oh, we've never seen them like having had things in drawers.
In the drawers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually the weapons that they're packing up. Like I don't remember ever seeing their clothes unpacking.
Yeah. And like Dean's ready to move on and he's like, case closed. But Sam's like, no, really? That's like, you don't think it's weird that the ghost didn't like burn and scream? He just disappeared.
Like every other ghost that we've ever killed before in our lives.
And he's like, and P.S., this guy was like trying to like bite me. It wasn't a ghost like trying to, hurt me. This guy was like hungry.
Yeah.
And side note, Gandhi was a fruitarian. So why would he be trying to like eat my, my body, eat my meat, so to speak?
Fruitarian. That was the first time I had ever heard of a fruitarian before.
I thought it was made up. I heard it in a movie a while back, and I thought it was made up. And I was like, oh, it really is people who only eat fruit that's fallen from the trees or the bushes. Yes. They won't pick it. It has to have fallen. Yeah. So it's not just.
I Googled it. It's like, what? How is this a viable diet? And most dietitians and doctors say, please do not do this diet.
Yes, exactly. Well, look,
granted, most botanically, there are many what we call vegetables that are fruits. So it's not just like you're not eating like a bunch of apples all the time.
Apples and oranges, yeah.
Yeah. it's like zucchini and squash and
things with
beans and
seeds.
stuff.
Yeah. So that funniness aside, Sam is now tired of being dismissed by Dean. And he's like, you dragged me into town on this, and now you're dragging me out of town and not listening to me. And Dean's like, again, Dick, you're not steering this boat. This is all up to me, essentially. And this is where Sam finally says, I don't think so. Yeah. And he's not being a jerk about it. He's just like, this isn't working. I really had the best intentions, but this isn't working.
Yes, this was a very, very mature response and conversation on Sam's end, where he's like, listen, there's nobody that's punishing myself worse than me, based on what I did. And I'm not blaming anybody else but myself. But here are the reasons why I made that choice. Yeah. And it's because I felt weak and small and too much like your kid brother. That's why I ran off with Ruby, because she made me feel better and stronger. And, I can't, if you are completely distrusting of me, there's no way that I can climb, make amends.
Yeah,
so to speak,
you've kept me on too short a leash. You never gave me the chance to make the mistakes so that I can, actually learn from them.
Yeah.
And so he's not blaming Dean, because Dean, of course, initially is like, oh, so it's my fault. And Sam's like, no, I did this. I had to get away from you.
I'm just giving you the reasons what my mindset was in the time that I made these decisions. And they weren't the right decisions, and I recognize that. But we really have to, it's got to be the right way, and we cannot be what we were before, because before was not good.
Right. We have to do this differently.
Yeah, it was a very relationship-y chick flick moment, I have to say.
Absolutely. Yes. He's like, you have to let me grow up. Stop treating me like your kid brother, and let me grow up. Let me be an adult. And, of course, at the end of that, Dean gets a call, and it turns out that
Sam was right. It wasn't.
Sam was right. It's not over. Yes, exactly. And little point for emphasis.
Yes.
Yes, it's not over. It wasn't a ghost, because you guys need to come into the station.
Yes, because it's again sheriff. It's just the facts, ma'am. Was there, but now he's run out of his reasonable explanations. Just be like, I don't know.
I got nothing on this one. So they get back in their FBI, outfits, and they go to the sheriff's office, and there's these two blonde teens, who are, visibly shaken up, but still terrible teenagers, because they're like, Dean and Sam are like, tell us what happened. And they're like, oh my God, it was terrible,
oh my God, I thought she was going to be nice, and even though she was really skinny and really pretty, she still took our friend away, and she was mean.
And
who, ma'am? It's like Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton. Yes.
Okay, well, Paris Hilton is not dead, so
not a ghost.
Yes.
Not a ghost. And so the question is, what did we miss? What did Sam and Dean miss if now Paris Hilton is kidnapping teenagers?
Time to regroup.
Yes. So now Sam is a coroner.
Yes, I said Sam put on his mortician hat.
Yes. And apparently did some push-ups and stuff beforehand, because his veins were popping. But yeah, so he's in his scrubs, and he's reading through the coroner's report, and it's like, and decides to cut this body open and go elbow deep into this guy's guts. And it's like, and pulls out these two rocks or pebbles, it looks like. It turns out they're seeds, but he pulls out these two objects out of this person's stomach. And it's like, okay, I guess I missed something. And I was like, what? That seems okay. I mean, he didn't do it nonchalantly. I mean, he was still grossed out by it. He was like, he did have some moments.
And it's not really the first time they've dealt with dead bodies in the coroner's office before. Because there was a couple times that they pulled out from the drawers people to look at them. I think one of them was either a werewolf attack or it's something that looked like a werewolf attack is in my mind right now.
Well, maybe he was just really
because remember there was an episode where I was like, how did he know that was it was a scale or something, right? It was like
the alligator
lizard scale, an alligator scale,
right. Right. I think
this is a very similar situation because he pulls these things out. It's like, look at these seeds.
Seeds. Yes. I don't know what kind of seeds, so we need to research that, but they are seeds. And I was like, what? Okay.
How did you know that these were seeds? They do not look like, they look like peach pits, which I guess are a kind of seed, but still.
Yeah, but you would have been like, these are pits.
Yeah. You all right?
The dog got tangled in my mic cable. I'm trying to bark off the porch and took my mic with her. So sorry about that. That was back at the motel. Sam has researched the seeds. And they're seeds from the Balkans or something. So they're not even from the United States.
No, they're and from a forest that doesn't even exist anymore.
And the lure
down many years ago.
Yeah, the lure is that there was a god called a Leshy. A Leshy that feeds on its own worshippers.
Yes.
So people used to worship the Leshy because it was protecting the forest. And in return for their worship, he would eat them.
Yes.
And
I'm sure it was an honor. And then embed the seeds. So then when this victim died, it's like a natural fertilizer. And then would help I guess it was a tree grow? I don't know what the seeds were for. They never mentioned, but.
Yeah. But then on top of that, it also turns out that this Leshy can touch somebody and become them.
It can take on infinite forms, is what it said.
So I looked up Leshy. Did you look it up?
I only through the source that I was given, which is in this book, which sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it's not, but.
Okay. So the one thing I found is it's from the Slavic region.
Mm-hmm.
It's a forest spirit, demigod, tree spirit who protects the forest and animals. A trickster who can be treacherous when angered and has long hair and a beard made of grass.
Mm.
There was nothing that I discovered about eating people. It just said it can take on the form of various people. It's a monster. It takes on the form of various faces.
Okay, so the supernatural spin is it eats its worshippers. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. But fun. But this was a nice, fun, side quest episode in which it's like, oh, it's a monster in which they have to do research on, and it's based off of an ancient god or something, and this is its method.
Yes.
And it was just nice. Yes. How do we kill it? We kill it with an iron axe. Then chopping its head off.
Chopping his head off. And I was like, yes, finally back to the who done it? How did they do it? How do we kill it?
Yes.
Yes. So back to the museum.
Yes.
With
their iron axe.
Yes.
Yep. And they wander around. We see some more of the exhibits, which include Abraham Lincoln. I saw JFK. I saw an exhibit with just some cowboys and some.
I think that was probably John Wayne. It was probably a John Wayne exhibit.
Maybe. And some miners, just nondescript, like the mining era, like the 49ers probably. A
I
British
want to know who the
soldier.
horse
Did
was.
I see a British soldier with his
Yep, you
hand
probably
over
do.
its face because there was no
Yep.
face? Um,
Michael Jackson.
yeah. And then a closed for renovation sign, which opened up into a
The new
soundstage.
exhibit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was like, forest and trees, fake
Yeah.
forest and trees. Um, question mark. Yeah. So I'm
Uh,
assuming this is the new exhibit that the museum guy was talking about for the Gen Wires.
yes, yeah.
Um, and Sam and Dean find the missing teen tied to a fake tree in
Hmm.
this exhibit. And while they go to see if she's okay, she's alive, but barely. Um, the axe gets yanked out of Dean's hand, a la the way the gun got pulled out of Sam's
Hmm.
hands, and he turns around to get punched in the face by Paris Hilton,
Yes.
and she was fabulous. She was
I loved
fabulous.
her in this. I absolutely loved her in this. She did a really, really good job.
She did a great job of being herself and not being a caricature of herself.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. And I have more to say on this a little bit later. Let's get through her
okay.
scene and then we can talk about her.
So not only does she like punch Dean in the face, she like punches him 3 or 4 times and knocks him.
Yeah, like bam, 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 and then finally knocks him out with her bejeweled heel.
with her Louboutin, with her red
Yes.
soul,
Yes.
bejeweled
heel.
Oh god, that was brilliant. She also
Yeah.
says awesome before she does it. Awesome. And I was like, oh my god, that's Dean and it's hers. It's really funny.
Yes.
Yes. And knocks him out.
Yeah. So the boys wake up tied to trees, their own trees.
Standing.
Standing. While Paris Hilton is filing her nails on this big ass knife, and like sparks are flying.
Yes, which was awesome. Which I assume they took it out of their tool bag. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote. There's a nice little monologue here, as
she starts the monologue.
the pattern so far in this season. But there was a really nice, I called it old supernatural creepy moment with her face where it like moved too fast for the camera to see. Do you know what I mean? Like it's smeared
the super fast.
Into like a monster for just a second. So I don't believe I have seen that in a while. It was in the first season they used those kinds of effects all of the time, and
it's so like they cut frames out so that it moves really fast. Yeah, they did that with Lincoln in the room right before he grabbed the professor by the throat. He does that. He's here, and all of a sudden, he's right there in front of you, type of thing. Yeah, they did that too.
Yeah. So Leshy Paris basically says that, since the apocalypse got triggered, I'll just start being a little bit looser with what I eat. I'm not gonna like hide in the shadows anymore. I'm just gonna do what I want. And you humans are so stupid with idling all of these dumb celebrities with spray tans. It's just really easy to turn into
find somebody
your version of a god.
Yeah. It's not about being a god anymore because it's all about idolatry,
Yeah.
And which is true. I mean, it's a pretty good monologue that she goes
That's what
off
I said.
on.
It's like she has a point.
She has an absolute point that there's a lack of religion. It's not religion anymore. It's about idol worship.
Yeah.
And it's bang on even now. Like even more so now.
Yeah.
And she even points to herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's like,
it's like, what do I got? I got a small dog and I'm skinny and rhinestones everywhere. I don't do anything important.
Yeah. So why not take advantage of people who want this, who worship this? So that's what I'm going to eat now. I'm tired of fast food and, trying to hide that I'm this demigod whose forest got cut down and got plowed over for a Yugo factory. I was like, wow, that is old school Yugo.
And then she approaches Dean after he makes a sassy comeback of some sort. And
Oh,
I know this is great. And he's like, you can't eat me because I'm not a Paris Hilton fan. I didn't even see House of Wax. And then a nice little cutaway to Sam, who makes a little bit of a face because this is, of course, a little Easter egg that
yes.
Jared and Paris were in the
in a
movie House of
slasher
Wax
movie together. And they were both gruesomely murdered in that movie. I was like, what a perfect, like, tied with a bow this episode. That it's a wax museum and that the two of them were in a movie together. And I just love the fact that Dean was like, I didn't even see that movie. You know.
Sam's
and I
like,
just wrote, hey. I just wrote down, burn.
Yes.
I do love the fact that they did not reference any of the negative about Paris Hilton. Because Dean could have very easily been that douchebag.
Yeah.
You know, he did say, you know, more of a Penthouse Forum guy, which is fine. It's a dig, but it wasn't.
And then he mentioned after in their little like epilogue wrap up, he mentioned the simple life, but
yes,
that's
simple
as negative as he got with Paris Hilton.
But that was a cute little show. Honestly, it was a cute little show. I mean, it was dumb. I will just say that, but it wasn't. It was a good idea, like they tried.
Yeah,
and it was a very innocent type of show, as opposed to the negative publicity she got for her leaked tapes. And I'm just glad they didn't reference that.
Yeah,
because they didn't have to. But this Paris Hilton is not Paris Hilton. It is a demigod, and says, you know, Dean, you may not. It doesn't matter that you don't worship me. I can read your thoughts, and I do know that you worship Daddy.
Yes. Yes, like, oh, poor you. You're never going to live up to your idol.
Yep.
But
so one long lost father figure coming up. And she starts heading for the axe because all she has to do is touch the axe because the axe belonged to John, which she knew, which we didn't know, but she knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but just before she gets her hands on it, Dean has got himself loose and like body slams her, you know, and like gets her so she doesn't get to the axe.
She doesn't grab the axe, but then she does very quickly get the upper hand in this fight.
And he gets punched in the face again,
so many times. So many times. Before Sam then gets free, grabs the axe, and does eventually chop Paris Hilton's head off.
Yes. And he is like, and supernatural, he is smeared with blood, splattered, which I loved.
Yes.
But yeah, and he didn't just like cut her head off. It was like you said, it was like chop, splatter.
He said that he was chopping into like a blood-soaked sponge, and that's how the blood would bounce back up at him.
Brilliant.
I know.
Brilliant. And I love that finally he's done and is like, he puts the axe down and like, he'll, you know, Paris's head is over here and the body's over there. Dean rolls over and he's like, dude, don't say a word. And Sam gets to be like, dude, you just got wailed on by Paris Hilton. And I love that adage. I love wailed on because it is so descriptive. I mean, and that's like, so, you know, that's how we used to describe fights is, man, you got wailed on.
But also, like, after getting all this shit for admiring Gandhi, you know, like, you admire a diaper-wearing fruitarian.
Yeah, you just got your ass kicked by this skinny little, you know, blonde in sparkly heels.
Yes.
Oh, God, perfect.
Yeah, so it's interesting how the crew, according to what I read, approached the Paris Hilton thing. Because they're like, oh, I don't think she'll do it. And finally someone said, just fucking ask her to see if she's up for it. And when she said yes, then everybody went to Jared to say, like, what is she like? What is she going to be like? Is she going to be like the simple life chick or... her persona that she was portraying at the time, and God bless Jared. He was like, no, she's not that person. She's going to come in. She's going to do her job. She's going to be really professional. She's very nice and very sweet, and she's going to do a great job. But it was everyone on the crew was just like, oh man, this is going to be like.
This is going to be a shit show because she's going to be a shit show. She's going to be this ditzy blonde who's just going to make all these demands and.
Yes. And everybody after the fact was like, no, you can definitely tell there's a character that she puts on for every, like, the world, for the media. And I've only seen glimpses. There's I think you could call it a documentary. I think it's technically a documentary about Paris Hilton. I don't remember what streaming service or whatever it's on. But she even talks about it. This was recent, in the past maybe 3 years or so.
Oh, okay.
Where she says, no, I put on this, even the voice that I had in Simple Life and
that's so
all the appearances.
Hot. Yeah.
It's so hot. It's like super high and up here, and that's just not how I talk. And she was sent to one of those really terrible places where it's...
Yes, where they're all under investigation now for abuses.
It's like, oh, this is for troubled teens and they'll straighten you out, but it's an awful place.
Yep. I remember reading that. Yep.
Yeah. So she was sent to one of those places. Our friend Brick, Sid, was in one of those places. Not that place, but
something like it.
Yeah, something almost just like it.
Oh, poor Brick.
I know. And that's just tragic because it's insane how well those establishments hid what they were doing.
Their abuses, yeah.
Because anybody that would come out of that place, I'm sure they weren't believed because they were already considered a troubled teen or, on drugs or whatever the case may be. It's just terrible.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow. And I had no idea that Paris Hilton was in one of those, and this made me go, wow.
Yeah. You
just never fucking know.
You never know. Exactly.
And she put on that persona to survive. That was definitely a survival technique. Mm-hmm. And it's sad that she had to do that.
Yeah, and because it worked. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing, is that it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, good for her that she was able to find success. I mean, not that she wasn't going to have success as the granddaughter of, the Hilton, the Hilton name, but, still.
Yeah. But I just want to give a shout out to Jared for like standing up for her prior to her coming in. If that really was the case, I don't know. That's just what was reported. But if it is true,
I think it would have come out.
Thank you.
I think it would have come out. I think if it was different.
Yeah.
Because all those stories come out.
Yeah.
There's always somebody willing to say something negative.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. So
the next day.
Dead. Yeah.
Paris is dead. The next day, leaving the motel, room 137, clearly marked on the door.
Yep.
Dean gets word from the sheriff that the teen girl was rescued and she's okay, but she's never going to watch The Simple Life again. But and Sam and Dean now have like another brother talk.
Yeah.
And it's a good one.
Yes, and this is like what I was waiting for. I actually don't remember this ever coming up when I was watching it initially, because this was always a point that I was making, I think, on this podcast a few times, that Dean is also a player in this apocalypse being started. And that he
was
broke
the
first seal.
He broke the first seal.
Yes, Dean broke the first seal. Sam broke the final seal. You can't do one without the other,
Right. And it's because Dean was always forgiven because he did it because he was suffering. Because he was in hell, and he did it because he was suffering.
Yes.
So that was always the pass that he was given. Now, I mean, he did, have his self-flagellations in the beginning, you know, but it was like he was eventually given a pass, and then it was never mentioned again.
Yes.
But Sam's has been thrown in his face again and again. Yeah.
But here Dean finally says from his own mouth, he's like, you know what? you are not entirely to blame, because who would have thought that killing Lilith would have been a bad thing, you know?
He's like, neither of us saw it coming.
Yes.
We were both so deep in what we were doing that we didn't see it coming.
Yes.
And he does admit that he broke the first seal. And, you know, Sam did the last seal. But so they both give each other a break.
Yeah.
They both give each other a break. At least over who started the apocalypse, you know. It doesn't rest solely on Sam's shoulders. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. And it never has or should have.
Yeah.
And when I tell you I was like livid through this entire episode until the scene, I really was. I was like, fuck you, Dean, fuck you, Dean, fuck you, Dean.
Well, because he went on into that next scene and was all like jokey, haha, wearing, you know, Lincoln's hat and joking about through the whole Gandhi diaper thing. And it's like, you don't get to be Mr. Jokey haha when you were just a certified dick.
Yes.
That's not how this works.
Right. 100%.
But Sam's answer, Sam's been thinking about this for a while. You know, he did some good thinking on his own. And he's like, we can't do it the same way, but we just have to like grab this shit by the horns. You know, whatever comes our way, we have to full on, and kick ass. You know, which is totally Dean's language. Like, Dean's like, yeah, I can get behind that. We just have to go out. Yeah, we just have to go out and kick some ass. And he's like, yeah, that I can do. As they're getting ready to get back in the car, he's like, you want to drive?
Yes, the ultimate peace offering.
Is the Impala. And off they drive to the tune of Superstitious, Stevie Wonder, which I love that song.
Was Stevie Wonder singing it? Was that Stevie Wonder's version?
Yeah, it says, Stevie Wonder wrote it for Jeff Beck, and ended up recording it.
I see.
So, it is Stevie Wonder.
But was that Stevie Wonder singing it? It didn't sound like the Stevie.
In that verse, it didn't
the
sound,
version that I know.
Superstition out the way. I'll have to go back and listen to it.
Right,
but
it just didn't sound. It didn't sound like the one that I know.
Oh well, then maybe it was a version.
But there could be too. Sometimes they like record different.
Yeah,
sometimes there's an acoustic or.
Yeah, he wrote the song. Stevie wrote the song for Jeff Beck. I don't know if Jeff Beck ever recorded it. I don't know. But I do know that I love Stevie Wonder's version of Superstition, and that's the original.
Anyway, but yes, that's the end until they do one of those weird soon montages that shows like the next
entire
2 or
rest
3
of the
episodes.
Season.
Yeah. It's not the entire season.
Is it just a couple of episodes?
It's the next episode. It's the episode after that. It's the episode after that.
I mean, I'm excited that Nutcracker's coming up.
It's just the next 3 episodes that they're featuring.
Which I was like, did they just run out of time? Like, did they just need to fill?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Because, again, it wasn't aired like months later. It was the next week.
Right. So they must have just run out of time. So I'm excited that the Nutcracker episode is coming up.
Yeah.
Nutcracker. I loved this episode. It was a welcome break.
Yes.
From the
my God,
apocalypse.
it was such a welcome break.
And the fact that we get to drive away with like a sense of relief as opposed to impending doom and tension.
Yes, it was a semi-happy ending, honestly, because, you know, maybe they threw that scene in there, the scene of Dean being a dick, just so that resolution would just feel extra gratifying.
Much better. Yeah.
And it worked, you know?
It absolutely worked. It absolutely worked. Yeah, it's great. I mean, the drive away, the brothers are together. They've got the rock and roll music, and they're heading off to face the world head on, grab it by the horns, and kick ass. You know, so I feel like we're like refreshed and ready,
go out fighting
to do it. Yes, exactly. As opposed to they've been beaten down, and they're not a team. They're not strong, you know, and so it's like, oh, finally. Now they're going to, hopefully they're going to pick up Bobby along the way. Cass is going to fly back in and we're going to like, let's do it. Let's do whatever this next episode is.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's an apocalyptic episode or if it's another like standalone.
It's a blend. But also Paris Hilton did an amazing job. As someone who is not a professional actor, she did really, really, really
She did
well.
a great job. I love that she had this opportunity to like be herself. I mean, it was a
poke
cameo.
fun at herself a little bit, or at least the character that she plays on The Simple Life. You know, she does the like, that's hot.
That's hot.
And awesome.
Yes. And sharpening her nails like with sparks. I mean, it was great, but it wasn't over the top. It was likable and livable and doable, and I thought she was great, and I didn't hate her. That's I have a strong opinion about female performers, and it's not to say that I hate all female performers. That's not what I meant to say. I have very high expectations of women performing, because I want them to do like super good jobs because they can. And she was great. Yeah. She was great. They could have directed her to be something different, and they didn't. And I'm super, super proud of that. Yeah. Yeah. And the Starburst made it in. So
yay. It's been a while, I think, since
I was looking for the deer head, actually. I was like, where's the deer head? I haven't seen that in a while.
Okay, so our next episode is I Believe the Children Are Our Future.
Oh, you spoiled my...
I'm sorry, I cannot say that line without singing it. It's impossible.
Yeah, great.
So anyway, that's going to be next week. And thank you so much for joining us this week. Please be sure to follow us, subscribe to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you can give us a positive rating, that would be wonderful. If you could share us, that would also be wonderful. We would love all of those positive things, positive being the key word. Yes. You can also, thumbs up. You can also follow us on all social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere.
Now go to bed.
Now go to bed. Thank you so much for listening. We really, really do appreciate it. Every download that you make.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
Stop.
You're right. I do need to go to bed.
You need to go. You need to go. Say goodnight. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.